Around 7 p.m. in Barcelona, Spain, we see a female lawyer heading to meet her client. Her client, Adrian Dorier, is accused of murdering a young woman. Adrian's lawyer, Felix Leyva, has sent Miss Virginia Goodman to him to gather all the necessary information so that she can understand the case and find a way out of this situation. This murder case is making headlines because the victim was a well-known public figure named Laura Vidal. She was a famous photographer and visual artist. In the news report, the reporter further told that according to the police, her killer is none other than Adrian Dorier, the owner of Global GoTech Media and a famous businessman. It is suspected that he was having an affair with Laura. However, the truth behind these allegations will only be revealed when the case is solved. Here, Adrian gets ready and meets Virginia. He was not ready for this as their meeting was scheduled in a few hours, but Virginia was not in a hurry just because of this. There was a reason behind her early arrival. She has a source in the court who told her that the prosecutors have found a key witness who could completely change the case. Although she doesn't know the name of the witness yet, efforts are on to find out. After hearing the witness's statement, the judge is going to call Adrian for questioning. In such a situation, Virginia can help him only if she knows every single detail related to the case. Adrian insists that he has already told everything to his lawyer, Felix Leyva. To this, Virginia responds that she has read everything already, but is full of flaws. Flaws that will collapse like a house of cards as soon as the prosecutor starts questioning. They need to fix those flaws. Virginia asked Adrian the first question. What was he doing in that hotel room with the murdered girl? The truth is, neither of them had gone to that hotel willingly. Adrian had been having an affair with artist Laura Vidal for a few months. Because of this, a blackmailer had been threatening them and demanding 100,000 euros. Adrian deeply loved his wife Sonia and didn't want his affair with Laura to ruin their marriage, so he agreed to pay the blackmailer. Following the instructions, they traveled 200 miles from home to that hotel. They had already been waiting in the hotel room for 2 hours when Adrian received a message from Laura's phone. But Laura had already thrown her phone in the trash. The message said she was going to reveal everything. It didn't take them long to realize that the blackmailer was trying to set them up. Panicked, they quickly started preparing to leave. Suddenly, someone pushed Adrian hard from behind. He hit the mirror and lost consciousness for a while. When he came to his senses, the police were already at the door. Just before he could open it, he noticed a blood-stained stone statue on the floor. Right across from him, in the next room, Laura's lifeless body lay on the floor, surrounded by the scattered 100,000 euros from the suitcase. Before he could make sense of anything, he was arrested. Adrian desperately tried to explain to the police that someone else had entered their room, but they refused to believe him. According to the police report, guests staying in the nearby rooms testified that they had heard screams from inside. However, by the time the police arrived, no one had exited that room. If the killer had escaped through the main door, it wouldn't have been locked from the inside. This meant there was no evidence of anyone entering or leaving. Moreover, since it was winter, all the window handles had been removed beforehand. Even if Adrian's claim was to be believed, that someone entered the room, knocked him unconscious, and killed Laura, how did the killer disappear from a locked room? This means Adrian is lying, and his fabricated story could easily be exposed in court. If he wants to save himself, he needs to tell the truth, but Adrian was stubborn. He insisted that it was true, that someone was trying to frame him by spreading rumors about his affair with Laura. He was innocent, and the police should search for the real killer. Seeing that he was not cooperating, Virginia showed him a news report about a missing boy. The witness who was to testify before the judge in 3 hours was connected to this missing boy's case. How do they know all this? Adrian was visibly shaken. Finally, he confessed the truth. 3 months ago, Adrian had gone to Paris for a business meeting. Early in the morning, his wife, Sonia, called him. They talked about how his meeting went, what the weather was like in Paris, and other normal things. But in reality, something completely different was going on. Adrian was straight up lying to his wife. He was not in Paris, but with his girlfriend, Laura. Later, they left for home. Lost in each other's eyes, they didn't notice when a deer suddenly appeared in front of their car. In an attempt to save it, they swerved and crashed into an oncoming car. Luckily, they were unharmed. But inside the other car was a young boy who was severely injured. When they checked his pulse, they realized he was dead. Adrian immediately reached for his phone to call the police, but Laura stopped him. She argued that the boy had died because of their mistake, and they could get into serious trouble. Not just that, if the truth came out, their affair would also be exposed, something Laura couldn't afford. A single mistake could cost her everything, especially her marriage to Bruno. Bruno was Laura's husband, who worked at a bank. Meanwhile, Adrian also loved his wife, Sonia. If their affair got exposed, both families would be destroyed. So Adrian agreed to follow Laura's plan. They immediately got into the car to escape, but the engine wouldn't start. Maybe the accident had caused some internal damage. Just then, they saw another car approaching from a distance. They quickly got out of their vehicle. Laura hid the body and immediately began pretending to fill out the insurance details. By the time the car pulled up next to them, the driver asked if they needed help. But all they wanted was to get rid of him as soon as possible. Suddenly, the dead boy's phone started ringing. Laura quickly made an excuse, saying it was probably an insurance agent calling and that they were on their way. She then disconnected the phone and started pretending to talk to the insurance company. Meanwhile, blood from the boy's body had started dripping onto the road from the car. Laura tried to cover it up, but the driver might have noticed something suspicious. It was also possible that he had seen the blood while leaving, meaning there was now an eyewitness to the incident. Laura didn't want to take any risks. She decided to dispose of the body. Together, they moved the boy's body into the trunk of his own car. Then, Adrian drove off to get rid of it, while Laura stayed behind to get their car fixed. Adrian kept driving for over an hour, searching for the right place. Finally, he reached a bridge over a massive river. He waited until nightfall, then pushed the boy's car, along with the body, into the water. He felt immense guilt, but there was nothing he could do for the boy now. Afterward, he called Laura and shared his location. When she arrived to pick him up, she looked even more disturbed than before. Something had happened. While Adrian was gone, Laura had met an old man who was on his way home via the same route. She told him about her car trouble, and he turned out to be a mechanic. After checking the vehicle, he found that the accident had jammed the starter sensor at the stop position. He said that if he remodulated it, the car would start again. However, he needed to tow the car to his house for repairs. Laura agreed. During the drive, they got to know each other. The old man's name was Tomas Garrido, and Laura introduced herself as Raquel. 20 minutes later, they arrived at his house. That's when Laura discovered something shocking. The boy who had died in the accident was none other than Tomas and Elvira's son, Daniel Garrido. Laura was in complete shock. What a cruel twist of fate. The more she tried to escape this mess, the deeper she got entangled. Meanwhile, Daniel's mother, Elvira, was growing anxious because he hadn't returned home. She called his office colleagues, only to learn that he had left right after work. By then, Tomas had returned after fixing Laura's car. Elvira told him about Daniel's disappearance. They assumed he might have gone out with a girl. Still, Tomas tried calling Daniel's phone, just to be sure. That's when Laura realized she had made a terrible mistake. She had accidentally taken Daniel's phone with her. Before they could suspect anything, she quickly hid the phone under a cushion on the sofa. But it was too late. When Tomas called again, Daniel's phone rang from right beside her. Why was she hiding it? Maybe they assumed she was just in a hurry to leave, so they let her go. The moment she got out, she rushed to pick up Adrian and told him everything that had happened. "Nothing about today went well," she said, her voice filled with regret. The next morning, Adrian junked his car so that no one could find it. That was the day they decided to end their relationship. Adrian then went to the local police station and filed a report that he had gone to Paris for business. He claimed that when he returned, he found out that his car had been stolen. This was the story he told his wife, Sonia. Meanwhile, the police were actively searching for Daniel, but they found no solid leads for weeks. It seemed like the case had gone cold. Feeling relieved, Adrian got back to his business and resumed his normal life. But then one day the police showed up at his office. Daniel's father had filed a report stating that on the day his son went missing, a BMW had crashed near their house. Inside that car was a woman named Raquel, who had Daniel's phone. Tomas suspected that this woman's accident was somehow connected to his son's disappearance. Upon investigating the car details, Adrian's name came up. However, when questioned, Adrian denied knowing the woman in the police sketch, who was actually his girlfriend, Laura. He had already filed a stolen car report and provided proof that he was in Paris at the time. His lawyer Felix handled the rest. From what Virginia could gather, Felix hadn't done his job well. Virginia's sources had found Adrian's name in the police files, which meant the prosecutor might have also come across it. If so, they might have put Adrian under surveillance, just waiting for him to make a mistake. And he did. 3 weeks after the incident, Adrian saw a news report about Daniel Garrido. The media was calling Daniel a thief, claiming that he had stolen $50,000 from the bank where he worked before vanishing. The moment Adrian saw the news, he knew exactly who was behind it. Furious, he rushed to a street payphone and called Laura. That one mistake, making a call in anger, put him right under the prosecutor's radar. Adrian was livid. Not only had they taken the boy's life, but now Laura had gone so far as to frame him for theft. He never imagined she'd stoop this low. But how had she pulled it off? It all came down to one crucial detail: Daniel's wallet. While they were disposing of the body, Laura had secretly kept Daniel's wallet, knowing it might come in handy later. And she was right. Using his ID and banking information, she discovered that Daniel worked at the same bank branch where her husband Bruno was the manager. She saw the perfect opportunity. Using Daniel's banking card, Laura withdrew $50,000. This made it look like Daniel had stolen the money and disappeared. Even after all these manipulations, their troubles didn't end there. Just a few days later, a blackmailer contacted Adrian demanding $100,000. The blackmailer claimed to have seen Adrian disposing of the body. Adrian wasn't sure if it was true or just a bluff, but if there was even a slight chance that someone had witnessed his crime, his entire career, reputation, and 10 years of hard work would be destroyed. He had climbed his way up from poverty, becoming a role model for many. Adrian suspects that the blackmailer is the same driver they met on the day of the accident. Perhaps he's been keeping an eye on them and is eventually using that information to extort money from them. The blackmailer threatened, "If you don't pay $100,000 by tomorrow, the police will find Daniel's body." He sent them an MP3 player with detailed instructions on where and how to deliver the money. The blackmailer had already booked room 715 at the Bella Vista Hotel in Adrian's name. Following the instructions, Adrian and Laura arrived at Bierge railway station before 5 p.m. At exactly 5 p.m., the public phone in the parking area rang. It was the blackmailer giving further instructions. Before boarding the train, he told Laura to throw her phone into a trash can. If she refused, he would expose their secret. Having no choice, Laura ditched her phone. However, they still had a private phone, which she only used to communicate with Adrian. Upon arriving at the Bella Vista Hotel, they inquired about room 715, as instructed, and found that room 715 was booked in Adrian's name. For 2 hours, Adrian and Laura waited in room 715, expecting the blackmailer to arrive. Then Adrian's phone rang. It was a message from Laura's number. "I'm gonna tell them everything." Adrian's heart skipped a beat. The only way the message could have been sent was if the blackmailer had pulled Laura's phone out of the trash. And then everything went black. Someone had knocked him unconscious. Adrian was sure the car driver was the one blackmailing them, and he must have killed Laura. On this, Virginia raised the question, why would he kill Laura? He wanted money. But the money was also scattered there, which means that his story is completely hollow. It would have been better if he had made the story around Daniel's father, then it would have been worth explaining. According to the crime scene, the murder was done out of revenge and not for money. The reason behind this could be Daniel's father. His son did not get justice, so he started blackmailing Adrian. Then he called him to Hotel Bella Vista and framed Adrian by killing Laura. For once, this story may seem true to the jury members, because after that incident, everyone in the whole country thinks that you're a murderer. Your friends, business partners, even your wife. Thomas not only made him Laura's murderer, but also ruined both his life and company. Adrian was overjoyed to hear this defense. He believed Felix's words that Virginia Goodman is the best lawyer in preparing witnesses. But one question was still bothering Adrian. How will they prove that Thomas entered the room? Because the police could not find any evidence of anyone entering the room. However, Virginia had already brought the solution to this problem. When she was working on the details of this case, she found it. Calling them to the Bella Vista Hotel, 200 miles away from home, was not a coincidence. Rather, there was a conspiracy behind it. Tomas's wife worked at Bella Vista Hotel. She arranged a way for Tomas to enter and exit the room undetected. She left a window handle for Tomas. She let him hide inside the wardrobe. Then, she locked the door from the outside and left. Tomas simply waited in the dark. 2 hours after Adrian and Laura arrived, he sent the fake message from Laura's phone. "I'm going to tell them everything." It was a trap. When Adrian read the message, he immediately panicked, thinking someone was trying to expose their secret. And that's when Tomas struck. He knocked Adrian unconscious. He killed Laura. He made sure the murder looked like Adrian's doing. A couple walking past their room even heard Laura scream, which sealed Adrian's fate. Before leaving, Tomas wiped his prints off the murder weapon, but left Adrian's fingerprints on it. Even Laura's phone was carefully placed to make sure the police would piece the story together exactly as he wanted. Virginia laid it all out for Adrian. That's how Tomas Garrido framed you. Just then, Virginia's source sent a crucial update. The key witness who testified against Adrian had been identified. It was the same man from the car who'd met him on the day of the accident. Adrian's fate was sealed. Now, nothing could stop him from going to prison. Well, Virginia has a solution to this problem too. If they can prove that Adrian was not with Laura that day but was in Paris. As his lawyer, Felix has already proved. Now they just have to prove that Laura was alone in that cabin that day. She had booked the cabin in her name. Not only this, when the accident happened while returning, she was alone in the car too. She hit Daniel and then hid his body somewhere. Then she withdrew money from the bank in Daniel's name. Through this, they will convince the jury that Adrian was not her partner, but her next victim. Laura was a cunning woman who used to extort money. Now, to prove this, they just need to know the location of Daniel's body, so that some of Laura's personal belongings can be placed with him and he can be framed. But there was still one problem. What about the witness who was going to testify against him? Just as Adrian's hopes started to fade, Virginia dropped a bombshell. There was no witness. She had lied. She just wanted to see how far he would go to save himself. Adrian's blood ran cold. How can someone be so smart after all? After being completely satisfied with his words, he felt like Virginia would save him. Then he marked that spot on the map. It was also said that the boy was still alive when the car sank in the river. He told the truth so that he could save him from post-mortem. After finding the dead body, they will come to know that Daniel died due to drowning, due to which this case will turn from an accident to a murder case and they will be ruined. Therefore, they will have to find a solution to this problem also. This made Virginia shocked. She said that if it would have been a normal person, he would have thought of saving that child, but you turned out to be a complete executioner. Virginia even started to think that the entire plan after the accident must have been made by Adrian, not Laura. Laura wanted to call the police, not Adrian. Laura must have felt pity for the condition of those old parents. However, due to Adrian's pressure, she could not say anything to anyone. But when Adrian used his power to prove Daniel a thief, Laura could not tolerate it. Finally, she decided to help those old parents. She told the truth to Daniel's mother, but she did not know about Daniel's dead body, so they could not do anything. Laura knew very well that Adrian would never confess his crime, so Laura made a plan. She called him and told him that the man in the car was blackmailing him. They would have to give him money. Then she booked a room in Adrian's name. After meeting him, she started blackmailing him by sending messages so that he surrenders and give this money to Daniel's parents. To save herself, she had booked the room in Adrian's name, but she did not know how big a scoundrel he was. The next moment, he killed Laura but could not get out of the room. After getting trapped, his first focus went to deleting that message. At the last moment, he understood that he could use this message to save himself. He weaved a story around this message. However, the story he weaved was lifeless. That's why his lawyer Felix hired Virginia Goodman. Here, Adrian accepts that he has committed 2 murders. But one question was still bothering him. That is, if Laura had told the whole truth to Daniel's mother, then why did they not go to the police? The answer was simple. Thomas had understood Adrian's power long ago. He knew that if the dead body was not found, he would never be able to prove the crime. That's why he started keeping an eye on Adrian. He took the room right opposite hers in the building so that he could keep an eye on her every moment. Right now, he was keeping an eye on her. But how did she know all this? Adrian was shocked. Anyway, Virginia had to save him. Before preparing for the rescue, Virginia took a break and went to have coffee. After she left, Adrian noticed that her phone was switched off. Not only that, but the pocket where he had kept the pen that Virginia had given him to mark the map was wet with ink. By now, he had some idea. When he opened the pen, he understood everything. There was a mic attached to it. Through this mic, Thomas was listening to and recording their conversation. The next moment, he ran towards the window and was stunned to see Virginia. It was not Virginia, but Daniel's mother. The next moment, he called the police and told them the whole truth. Here, we see the real Virginia Goodman, who reaches on time to meet Adrian. But what is the use of this now?